Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, today we will have a look at this new distro called Liya Linux, which is designed, they say here in their subtitle, Liya Linux aims to make Linux accessible to the general public and establish it as the industry standard for home computing. And so that really is what the claim here is. This is a very small distro, fairly new, and it is based on Arch, but it runs the Cinnamon desktop environment and has a few other tools that you could really install onto anything. I just thought this was an interesting distro, in which case it's another one that comes with Brave by default instead of Firefox. It comes with only Office instead of LibreOffice. And there's a few other small changes like that throughout this particular distribution. It is made by a student, I think in India, but I'm not totally sure about that. He had a bio somewhere that I saw a few links deep, but that's not particularly relevant. Never really has been for me. I look at distributions based on the merit and what they give us. And so looking at what the features are, they're optimized for V2, V3 microarchitectures, Arch-based rolling release, essential tools out of the box. We have secure and private, hardware support, AUR support, customizable open source. Now, I was not able to find the source code anywhere. I'm sure it might be out there, but the website itself is a little bit on the disconnected, fairly disorientated side. There's not really a lot of information on it, and if you go over to the like they have a free Flarium, there's really nothing useful over here either. You'll see there's really nothing under support. There's just a couple things under the wiki. So we are talking about a brand new type system. So this is obviously on that basis not one I would recommend people would necessarily install as a full production system. I really wanted to highlight it just to kind of show you what some people are doing a little bit differently, maybe give you a little bit of ideas. Now, one of the things is this is a trend I'm starting to see a little bit. The Papa OS has this general thing where you select your CPU brand and you download based on that. We have an AMD and an Intel, and indeed this does apparently make a difference. And I actually forgot it had this for a moment because I installed this onto my streaming computer, which is in AMD. And I played around with it, and it was working fine. I really had no major complaints with it. And then I was like, well, when it comes down to doing this this actual review, I figured I'd go ahead and do that on the laptops, which I have for this purpose. And without remembering this, I threw it onto my i7 MSI laptop, and it was not working well. I'm like, what is going on here? And I remembered, oh, yeah, that's right. You did have to select the CPU brand. So I switched over to my, my Ryzen 5 laptop instead, and as soon as I did that, everything worked great again. So do make sure you select your same architecture and understand if you have this installed with one architecture, you are not going to take this distro and jump to the other architecture. And that is not an issue with the CPU. That is an issue with, just how it's built. So just be aware of that. This also means it is a little bit smaller of a download size because it really only has the processing info for which of those you have selected. So I think it was like a 3 gigabyte download. It is running, since it is running Cinnamon 6.6.6, how evil of that. Since it is running that Cinnamon version, it does have the experimental Wayland, and it is running on X by default. So yay, I was able to go into R and install my simple screen recorder, allowing me to actually do this without a lot more overhead. Now, that being said, there's really not a ton in here. When he talks about a Linux for just basically using it out of the box, all the tools you need, I'm not going to completely agree that it has all of the tools you need, especially when other more established and more highly developed Arch-based systems are out there. You have Dragora Linux, of course. You have Endeavor OS, which I'm running on my system, and the one that I would use if I were rebuilding with Arch today would be Cache OS. We looked at those. We also looked recently at Storm OS, and that one actually had a number of the tools, but overall of all of those Arch-based distros I just mentioned, it is Cashy OS that has a lot of the tools. You see, this is running your Pac-Man because it's Arch, and that's what Arch does. And if you have an interruption on your install process, you have to clear a database file. Cashy OS and a few other ones have a simple button. You click it and it clears that. Otherwise, you got to remember where that file is, go into the terminal and manually remove that file. As far as looking at first steps and things, this one here, despite saying it has a lot of tools built in for it, it does actually mention, hey, after you install it, you're going to want to resort your mirror list. You're going to want to refresh the key rings. You're going to want to update the system here. And this keyring is particularly important. This is actually something that at least I think was missing on Endeavor OS, or maybe it's just there and I just don't really use the Endeavor OS tools on my Endeavor OS system. Let me just have a brief look over there. I don't see anything off the top. So one of the problems I have had with Endeavor over the years is that it would not update that key. There's many times I had to manually do that, and then I'd forget about it, and then I'd have to go and remember how to look up how to update it. So it's good it's in the wiki, but that is one of the tools that Cashy OS has, is it has a button and it will refresh the Arch keyrings. And that is quite important. And I'm looking right now at the tools available in Endeavor OS. So we can update the mirrors. We can update native packages, update native and AUR, update native. Yeah, there's a couple different options there. Package cleanup. We can do display manager changements. And not a lot of other useful things inside of... oh, hold on. Let me check a few more options. So yeah, Endeavor OS does not actually have any of those tools either for updating the key rings and things like that. So it's good it's in the wiki page, but to say this is an Arch that is user-friendly to have your first start, you really need these options. And that's why distros like Cashy OS are becoming more popular, because it gives you that pure Arch experience, unlike Manjaro, which is Arch held back a little bit. But it gives you that pure Arch experience without having to do all of these weird little things like updating the key rings, clear a database file, update your mirror lists and things like that. But here's what this does have. This isn't a whole negative video. What I did want to point out is what this system does have on it is it is one of the distros that is going to come with Pamac installed. So Pamac is a front end for Pac-Man, and this allows you to install software. This was a software package developed by Manjaro, and it is one of the better software installers available for Arch. You can come over here and you can search for individual packages. Let's just say I prefer LibreOffice over OnlyOffice, which I do. But you can go in here and you can search for it, and you can see here that I can grab my LibreOffice and I could install that. If I were using this in production, I probably would go ahead and get that installed. Because I prefer, like I said, I do prefer LibreOffice over your OnlyOffice, which is what this comes with. Not that OnlyOffice is horrible. It has a lot of good features to it, but it has some questionable features to it as well. But you can see what is installed. You can see what is explicitly installed. You can look for orphans and things like that. Of course, here's foreign. I installed Simple Screen Recorder from the AUR, so, hopefully it's not sucking up all of my data and sending it somewhere. Not that we're doing much on it, but this does allow you to do a lot of different things over here. So looking at our preferences, and let's go ahead and verify this. We can set it to check for updates automatically, and that's turned off. You can do parallel downloads. You can clear that cache. And you can check for disk spaces, and you can enable downgrades, just a number of things. And then looking at third party, you can enable AUR support. Now, one of the cool things too about Pamac is if you're installing snaps or flat packs, Pamac can manage those as well. This system here does not have snap or flat pack configured, so you are stuck with the software available in the Arch repositories or in the AUR. So that would be an advantage is if it had flat pack, since most distros do support flat pack, and a lot of good software is coming out in flat pack versions or snap versions to probably a lesser extent. But what we see is that you do have the availability of getting pretty much any software you need. It would be nice to have that flat pack support, which you can add. It just isn't in here by default. But there is your installation. The other thing I noticed in here is it actually has a system D manager, which I've never seen before. But this would, in theory, allow you to get in here, see what all of the resources are doing, where it's going, and probably add new ones. I have not researched what this is exactly. I have never seen this before, which is interesting. But it does look like if you did need to do some fine tweaking on your system, a system D manager is pretty cool. So that is a software that for some reason you have to enter your password to close the application. Go figure. It does come with a few games pre-installed. Here's chess and robots. It does come with a full suite of accessibility, accessories. I didn't look at accessibility, but looking at these, we just have, a file roller. We have a calculator, clipboard managers. We have a welcome screen. One of the other things I wanted to have a look at it is it does advertise itself. As I was looking at the distro watch information, it mentioned that it had AI systems. I want to know, could this do local? I've not seen this application either, but this actually allows you to run AI locally. So right here is just kind of a demo API that you can't do a whole lot. But if I can remember where my settings were in the system, you could go over here and you could run local models, and you could actually go into the model library and you can download a number of different local AI models. So this is basically running what I'm running on my system right now, as I have an Olama server allowing me to download these local models, and then I can use them with an open web UI on all of my systems in my network. This is focused specifically on just this computer. So if you did need a single computer instance of a local AI, this is an application that would work. Again, I don't think this is specific to this particular distribution, although I will note that this does come in the repository for this distribution. So this is not something available in the standard Arch repositories. This was an application brought in by the Liya Linux repository itself. But you can see you can download a lot of those different models. You can also go down and I think, here's other LLMs. So you could use your ChatGPT free. Here's your Claude. So if you did want to enable these types of things, you would need your keys for it, and you would need to do whatever you would need to do to configure those cloud-based AI systems. I have no earthly idea how that is, but this is an application that did catch my eye as I was looking at it. So that is something else that we get in this one that I have not seen. Here's the backups options, basic text editors. Here's your games, graphics. We have Pinta, Pix, document scanner, internet. Here we have download and share files over BitTorrent. Here's UGet for basically a download manager, Geary for email, and Brave instead of Firefox. Here's your OnlyOffice is your only option for this. So, there are people that are going to OnlyOffice instead of LibreOffice, mostly for the familiar UI. Last time I looked at OnlyOffice, which was quite a while ago, it still was not up to the technical par. It looks beautiful and polished, but when you get into the nitty gritty, the deep and fine-tuned things that you really need in professional writing stuff, it was lacking then. Again, I haven't looked at it in detail in probably about 3 years, I think. But for your basic Office suite, OnlyOffice is good and respectable. And so they are going with that one instead of LibreOffice, probably more of a newer trend. Here's take pictures and videos with your camera. Has celluloid for video and movie playback. This is the one I've not seen it before. This is for your audio. Whoa, stop. Okay, well, we're going to have to cut that part out of the video. It's automatically I have no idea why it's automatically playing these. I actually cleared the playlist prior to coming in. And so this is actually something really annoying about this application is you notice I just cleared it. Okay, there you go. Now it's not playing something. No idea why, but I paused it. I cleared the whole thing. I have no idea why, but it just automatically started playing. Now, this allows you to go in and just add individual things to your playlist. You can either add individual files, or if you wanted to, you can add entire albums like this. You can mix and match it a little bit, add some Rush down there as well. And then this will allow you to play, and it is one of these applications that you close it out and it just kind of stays running. So if it's playing and you close it and you're expecting it to stop, it doesn't. You have to come down here and you have to quit. So that is definitely something that you need to do. But nevertheless, it is an application that does the job. It's not beautiful or flashy. It's not like Lollipop is what I've been using lately since I can't get my old favorite Banshee. Went out of commission over a decade ago. Loved that application. Somebody revive that from the dead, please. But now you get a lot of Rhythm Box. People rely on VLC. There's also Clementine and its various forks that are also good. But this is the first time I've seen one of these. It was nice and easy to use, and that's the advantage of it. It's quick, nice, and simple. So that works there. As far as our basic administration, we do have a nice firmware tool. This one actually did find a lot more firmware than I've seen any of these firmware tools find before. So that's actually pretty nice how it's working there. And let's see if there's anything else specific. No basic system. Oh, there's a task manager. I was actually looking for task manager before, and I was not able to find it. I was actually going over and using HTOP instead. This task manager sucks. Okay, HTOP it is. Okay, there you go. So there's what we're looking at right here. So we're running at 1.6 gig. Remember, we are recording at 1080p on Simple Screen Recorder. And you can see the processor is not overly taxed there as well. I was going to turn on the processor speeds, but we're not going to do that. All right, let's just go ahead and quit that and see what else we have over here. So it's your basic preferences, of course. That's all the stuff available inside of your main settings. We do have an emoji tool, so if you are an emoji person, you can go ahead and just come down here and literally search for emojis. I wonder if you can search for emojis down here. I have no idea. If I search for onion, yeah, look at that. It does show up. Look at that. It's a smiley face. Look at that. Look at that. I can search for emojis on my taskbar. That's neat. I added CMake to build Simple Screen Recorder. So this is the new menu. It is actually configured this way. I've not actually seen this basic configuration, but I did confirm it is the standard new menu, the new Cinnamon 6.6 menu. So you can verify that by looking at the configuration settings. So you can go over here and show all the various things. And so they've just configured it pretty nice. So they've given it kind of like a Windows 11-esque type feel, maybe a little bit more closer if they put that over there instead of in the middle. But overall, it works out pretty nice. So the system is fine. It's basically a pure Arch system with a desktop environment pre-installed and some tools that are neat and useful, and they are going to be things that I'll have a look at some of these tools. And that's one of the things that caught my eye about this one is, despite being a new distro, it does come with some extra tools that I had not seen before. And I always like looking at distros that do those types of things. So there is our look over here, and you can find the website. Now, as I said, the website is not amazing. There is no direct connection that I found between this forum site and their main site here, so I literally had to go onto a search engine, type the name of the distro to find one or the other. So notes to the developer, website does need quite a bit of work as far as linking these two services together so people can find them back and forth. Overall, though, new distro, so expect that. Expect you may or may not get a lot of support. It is made by a student, so usually that means that he'll support it really well before going off into the super busy 4-year, and then support will fade off, and then the distro might disappear, or it might just become a whole business model. I don't know. So we'll see what happens with it, but go ahead and have a look at that if you are into fun little Arch builds, particularly if you like the Cinnamon desktop environment, and I do. So good job on this one. Again, it's not one I'm going to be highly promoting as a main distro. I do prefer a distro that is maintained by a bigger team, but it is a nice little distro with some cool tools in there that I hadn't seen before. And for that, thank you, and I will be having a look at some of those other tools. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below.